Yo, what's up? This is Jay Dennis, and we're back with another Ranked and Reviewed. And today we're going to be looking at a band that I've once again been on again, off again listening to since high school. And have only just gotten recently acquainted with their most recent work due to this nature of these videos. And that is Born of Osiris. And this video might be a little quicker than most of my other ones, because even though these guys are technically talented and put out pretty solid and sometimes complex and just artfully done work, my opinions on some of these albums that I've listened to multiple times really aren't that deep, because although they've kind of diversified their sound and tried different things, overall, in my opinion, they haven't overly deviated from it. So some of the stuff sounds kind of similar. So, every album in its own way has its own identity, but to kind of say that you could probably show people mostly any album, you're going to get the Born of Osiris sound, but I will distinguish that in the ranking before you get angry, like, oh, Angel and Alien sounds nothing like New Rain. Like, you don't get your pretzel knot in a tear, or whatever the expression is. But 7 studio albums dating back from 2007 up until last year, 2021. And I'm going to go over the ranking and give you the top 10. But yeah, it's a fun band. I'm glad I got back into them, and I'll go into more details as we go through each album. So, starting out at the bottom spot, pretty easy, I'd have to say. It's their latest album, Angel or Alien. Now, the spread between the bottom and top album is like a 7.9. So like, a C plus, and then the best album's like a B plus. So there's a little spread to work with here. But Angel or Alien is, if you had to take any album from this heavy ass band and say, if you had to peg any album as a butt rock or a sellout album, what would it be? It'd be this one. I have no desire to go back and listen to this album from front to back ever again. There are a handful of good tracks on there. White Nile's a great single. Crossface is a cool song, and In for the Kill. And then it was nice to hear after a while, Truth and Denial actually kind of has like a classic, like 2000s sound to it. So I actually like that. But I think it's their longest album. There were 14 rateable tracks, and just most of them are just boring. Some of their weakest materials on this album, weirdest experimentation. I'm okay with them doing weird stuff, like putting like saxophone and like more orchestraical stuff in there, but that's not what makes me dislike songs like Shadow Mourn or Lost Souls or Echo Breather. It's just an empty, stripped down sound. And sometimes bands that write complex music, they pull it off. I just don't think they did it that well on this album. Poster Child's very repetitive as a single. Angel or Alien just sounds like a very contrived, derivative, mainstream attempt at trying to get your heavy sound to sound more like radio friendly, but it's just kind of generic and kind of boring and stripped down, and it kind of insults the level of talent that these guys actually possess on the synths, the guitars. Got nothing wrong with the vocals. But anyway, that's my opinion. I think Angel or Alien's their weakest album. And, again, I would never go back and listen to it from front to back again. It's just not musically pleasing compared to their other work. Next up at the number 6 spot, I'm probably going to get some heat for this, but bear with me. It's their second album, A Higher Place. It is definitely easier to listen to than Angel or Alien, though. So this one got a B minus. This is technically their heaviest album. A lot of shorter, just drop C, kind of like death metal core riff, heavy driven songs with like a lot of growling, a lot of, heaviness, a lot of low end. There is some, good lead guitar work on there, but just the reason why this album got so low is it's just super repetitive. A lot of the songs kind of bleed into each other. There's really nothing uber exciting on this album except Now Arise, and I do like Elimination. I like kind of like the Chimera sounding guitar riffs in there. Like I like the thrashiness of that song. But after listening to it a few times, I feel like the best materials like at the front of the album, The Accountable, Live Like I'm Real, but then as you start to get, through the album and towards the end, it just gets a little boring and a little tired. So I've watched music videos and videos of like stuff from this era, and people are just like, this is a super underrated album. The guys really fell off after this, and and I'm just like, if we're just speaking relative or even subjectively, no, the musical talent on this album is actually pretty tame compared to what you get in other stuff. Now, yes, the rhythm work is disgusting. The triplets, the quadruplets, the chugging, everything. Like, it's a very heavy riff-driven album. So if that's your jam, if you like more of like the rhythm side of things, then this could very well be one of your favorite albums. But if you like a little bit more of the lead work or even like the catchier stuff that you hear in even like their first album, which is technically an EP, but I'm putting it on this list anyway, so fuck you. Or other albums, if you like more melodies and you like more hooks, then this album's not for you. So that's why for me, it sits at the bottom. I definitely love and appreciate rhythm. I just think it got a little repetitive on this one. And yeah, but if they ever did like try to replicate this album again, or like even like re-recorded it like they did with their New Rain, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Like a re-release or something. Oh, you can't touch gold. It's just my opinion, guys. Next up, we have a two-way tie, but I'm going to give the slight disadvantage to The Simulation, which this is one of those few albums where the first impression dwarfed follow-up listens. Sometimes an album is a grower. This one was a tease. On the first listen, I thought, wow, this album could actually place in like the top 3 or something, but no. It's actually it's kind of like Angel or Alien, where it's just kind of boring, but at least it's like a heavy boring. And there is a high point on this album. The second song, Disconnect to Me, however the fuck you say it. It's one of their best songs, actually. But other than that, pretty forgettable album. If I were to recommend any other songs, it would be Cycles of Tragedy and maybe Analogs in a Cell. I thought Silence in the Echo was going to be a Linkin Park cover, honestly, but it wasn't. But also, this is like their shortest album. And that's why I included New Rain to the list, because Simulation is around the same length, and they consider that a studio album. So if we're just looking at album length and amount of material, I just want to be consistent and say, even though New Rain is an EP, I'm fucking putting it on this one because Simulation's on there. But yeah, so aside from the second track, just Disconnect to Me, really nothing that exciting. They kind of got into like a little bit of a gentier sound with this album, but I just think in other areas they just got a little too stripped down for my taste and kind of lost a little bit of that identity that was more present, that signature sound that was more present on some of the prior albums. So, not a whole lot else to say about that one. I probably won't go back and listen to this one from front to back again, but there are a couple of good tracks worth listening to. And like most rankings I do, most albums are pretty much, or all albums are worth listening to at least once, so you can form your own opinion and see what style you like. To finish this two-way tie, I give the slight edge to Soul Sphere, which I think this is the album where people start to really dislike the band for a while. It might actually be Tomorrow We Die Alive, but I think this is where more people started to kind of fall off a little bit. Yeah, they got more melodic on this one, but there's still some heavy-ass chugs. I love the lead guitar work and Resilience. Soul Sphere's got more material than Simulation, so that's why I gave it the edge, although it's technically just marginally better. The Louder the Sound, River of Time, Free Fall, all great tracks. Other Half of Me, really catchy. Love the low-end drop C guitar work there. Lee really comes out and proves that he's actually a really stellar lead guitar player. He'd been doing that even before this album, but I just kind of feel like they started to get more of their grounding and more of their footing on this one. But this is one of their lighter albums. It's still heavier than Angel or Alien, and you still got like traditional sounds on here, but like I just feel like it got a little boring with songs like Throw Me in the Jungle, Sleeping of the Dead, what's another song, Goddess of the Dawn, or whatever. I don't know. It's just probably another album I won't go back and listen to from front to back, but a handful of good tracks nonetheless. Again, not too many other distinctions here, which is why my opinions on these are pretty quick. Next up, we have another two-way tie, but I'm going to give the slight disadvantage to Tomorrow We Die Alive, which pretty hard to follow up after the previous album, but to me, I think this is where, after losing Jason Richardson on the lead guitar, they kind of needed to, maybe I'm wrong, prove themselves that, hey, we're still Born of Osiris and we can still put out kick-ass music. This one's actually pretty fun to listen to from front to back. But even though Machine is one of the stronger songs on the album and it leads it off, it does feel like a little formulaic. Just harmonized sweeps, proving that Lee can shred at the time. Again, Lee's an excellent guitar player, actually. I'm going to get more into that in a little bit later. This album as a whole, though, was really synth-heavy. They really took the focus off the shredding and the lead guitar work that you got on the previous album, and they brought it back more to like the hooks and the shreds and like the heavy rhythm drop C sounds that you heard in A Higher Place or The New Rain. It's not heavy like A Higher Place, but it is pretty a lot of rhythm. But you do have some excellent lead work, excellent guitar solos in like Exhilarate, Vengeance, great closing track. Back in 2013, I did listen to Aeon 3 quite a bit, but it's not one of my favorite songs on the album. But little bit of nostalgia there, just for that one song with some pretty unique lead work, actually. But yeah, the Sense and Divergency, which is one of their best songs, are fucking nasty. Like it very much did remind me of The New Rain. So Tomorrow We Die Alive is definitely one of their stronger albums. It's not the first one I'd go listen to, but I would easily listen to it more than any of the other ones that I've already mentioned. And again, they prove that they still got it, even though they had technically lost an asset at the time. But let's go ahead and move on to the next part of this two-way tie, which goes to The New Rain / The Eternal Rain. So the reason I think I put The Eternal Rain, which is the re-released version of this, I think it was like a 10th anniversary re-release with an additional track. The reason I put that album cover there instead of the classic one is because, to me, this has to be the definitive version. It's actually marginally better than the original, and there's an extra song on there, Glorious Day. So, to me, this is just fucking vintage classic Born of Osiris. Not just by definition, because it's their first release. And oddly, I think it was completely produced by their drummer. So Homeboy's got a shit ton of talent, not just behind the kit, but the fact that he was able to write all those riffs and leads, and guy can't shred like Lee or Jason Richardson, but guy can write some really good leads and excellent riffs. Very impressed by how this came out, and this is one that definitely brings me a lot of nostalgia for that particular. Why did I say it like that? Nostalgia. I don't ever twang the word like that. This is, of course, the record, the EP, I guess, that got me into this band. Abstract Art, man. When that synth kicks in, you feel like you're on a Crash Bandicoot level. You can't fuck with that. That is classic. That is classic mid to late 2000s metalcore / deathcore, whatever you want to call it. I know metalcore's got 1,000 variations. Born of Osiris does not sound like Killswitch Engage, but they are kind of somewhat part of that same subgenre. Fucking Bow Down, which is just, classic hardcore metalcore with great drop C melodies. It's just a fun album to listen to. Rosecrans is a great opening track. Empires Erased. There's really no songs on here that I dislike. My least favorite track, though, is Brace Legs. But The Takeover is a great closing track. And of course, if you count the re-release Glorious Day, great addition as well. Marginally better than Tomorrow We Die Alive. And again, just classic vintage, the old raw shit really holds up, and then the re-release really did it justice by making it marginally better. I think probably because of the vocal performance. I forget his name, but the lead vocalist has definitely gotten way better over time, and I think that really shines quite a bit on the re-release. But why are we here? We're here to talk about their best album, which of course is The Discovery. I'm going to preface all this by saying that I'm not one of those people. I actually did do a little bit of research and watch some videos. Not to just fanboy over Jason Richardson and shit on Lee. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to say that both guitarists are extremely good. I mean, Jason Richardson, it's not fair to compare anybody to him. The guy's a fucking... He's one of the best guitar players around right now. Like, the guy can shred. Like, he's like God-tier level shred. But every guitarist has some sort of shortcoming, I'm assuming. Lee, however, has his own identity, his own... Born of Osiris is not Born of Osiris without Lee. Lee is the reason why Born of Osiris is around. Writes excellent riffs, writes great leads, and over time, I've found that like his solos have quite a lot of feel to them. So there are times where I'd say I actually prefer Lee's lead work over somebody like Jason Richardson, because I'm sure Jason Richardson can play with feel, can play and do like the softer, more impactful stuff, but Jason, in my opinion, is more known for his shredding, which not everybody can shred. Shredding is fucking fun. Of course, it can be overdone, but Jason Richardson is a massive reason as to why the Discovery, and why at the time Born of Osiris was the fucking pinnacle of like 2011. And, you know, Jason Richardson's a huge reason why Born of Osiris has a pretty solid legacy and a pretty solid foothold. Now, that legacy has lasted over 10 years now, but the Discovery is just a fucking masterpiece. It's got the best lead guitar work because of Jason Richardson. It's got some of the best riffs. It's got excellent vocal performance. And one thing that just makes this album so memorable is the synth and keyboard work. I haven't heard anything come close to the level of this. Singularity, Devastate, Solution. I'm trying to think of other songs that feature like insanely good keyboard work. I suppose Follow the Signs. Yeah, this album is just packed with content. It's a long album that's easy to listen to. Even the 2 or 3 transition tracks, I rated them because they just really add to the storytelling of the album. You know, Solution, what else is there? Is Omniscient. And then 14, which leads beautifully into the Shred Fest, which is Behold, which is an insanely good closing track. Singularity and Devastate were always my favorite tracks off this album, even back when I heard this one. This album is also at the top because it's got the most sentimental meaning to me. But just by definition, this is the most well-written, well-executed album. It's an album of an era, in my opinion, and it's much better than all their albums. Like, it's not even close between this and like Eternal Rain or New Rain. The Discovery is just in a league of its own. And if Born of Osiris could ever again come close to this, with or without an asset like Jason Richardson, again, Lee has the capability to write some pretty insane guitar work. He's proved it on his solo work. He's proved it in recent albums. Again, every guitarist has their own skill set. I don't think really any guitarist can get to Jason Richardson's level with shredding. Like, the guy's just a fucking god in that realm. But I think with the tools and the talent that Born of Osiris has, they could maybe someday again come close to this. But for now, that's the pinnacle. And it took them long enough, but they actually finally paid Jason Richardson his royalties. So anyway, enough of that drama. Let's recap real quick. Actually, no. Let's talk more about the Discovery. Ascension, I fucking love that drop G groove. I love that Discovery's finally an album where they introduced lower tuning, 7-string guitars. You got that nasty solo in Recreate where he like does like the little vibrato of the fuck, what's it called? The tremolo bar. Sounds really fucking good. 2 Rules of Design, Shaping a Masterpiece. Last Straw. Anyway, I think that's about it, guys. I fucking love that album. Very memorable tracks, easiest one to listen to. Aged really well. So let's recap. Least favorite to most favorite: Angel or Alien, Higher Place, Simulation, Soul Sphere, Tomorrow We All Die Alive, The Eternal Rain, and their best album easily is The Discovery. Top 10 tracks. I'm going to break my rule here. because most of their best tracks are off the Discovery, but we got Divergency, Bow Down, Behold, Recreate, Ascension, Disconnect Me, Abstract Art, Follow the Signs, Devastate, and Singularity. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, fuck it. More than half the top 10 are off of Discovery. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. I actually went on pretty long for the Discovery. That's what most of this video was about. Like, subscribe, whatever. Comment what you agree or disagree with. Again, I find value in all their work. I'm not really a fanboy of any particular era, but I just think, speaking sentimentally and speaking objectively, Discovery is just untouchable. But I also do want to say that Lee definitely got a lot of unfair flack. It wasn't fair to, say, oh, he's stuck in Jason Richardson's shadow. I think that's bullshit. I'm a guitar player too. I'm nowhere near either of those guys' level, but to be compared to somebody that, getting something that you didn't ask for. And I've seen videos of Lee. He seems like a humble, nice guy. Guy's jacked as fuck too. But anyway, it's all fun, worth listening to. Very talented group of guys. And let me know what you like, what you agree or disagree with. How would you rank them differently? And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.